And good afternoon. Thank you for choosing Graps TV and the Sicko Show. I'm your host, the Matty Man. Welcome to your AEW Holiday Bash Dynamite review here. The second review I've tried to do here. And hey, we already got 4 people in here. That's even better. Hey, that works out good. I am going to go straight into my pre-show thoughts here in just a minute. As far as the news goes, I've been seeing a lot of, I won't say negative, just sort of, there it comes. Yeah, I was waiting on, I worked really hard to have an idea here. I was like, I'm going to have a Yuletide log, the whole 9 yards. Everybody's going to love it. And then boom, commercials come on right when I hit go live. I'm like, man, this is crazy. Anyway, pre-show thoughts on Holiday Bash have to deal with some of the information I've been seeing so far. Immediately, I have noticed a lot of podcasters jumped right out there to say that is Tony Khan burying Tony Storm? If that's what you got out of that last night, I really, as a human being with I have a reasonably good amount of intellect. I really do. I have a reasonably good amount of intellect, and after the segment itself was really beautiful, and we'll get to that later on in the show. I don't want to skip too far ahead, but apparently this has been the target for a majority of podcasters who wound up being embarrassed about bitching about her being on Rampage, only to find out the character has amnesia and she thinks she's just gotten to AEW. So everybody wakes up with egg on their face after that promo, and they're like, well, okay, so the Rampage thing wasn't such a bad idea after all. But did you see Tony burying her? I didn't see Tony burying her at all. I didn't see that as a burial, not even a little bit. And it gets to the point, if we can go ahead and have this conversation, there are a certain group of people out there that just absolutely hate AEW so badly that if Tony Khan ran a promo and said, look, if you will show a picture of you watching the show and enjoying the show, I'll give you $1 million, they wouldn't do it. They just wouldn't do it. They hate the show so bad that if no matter what incentive you give them to actually watch the show with an open mind, they wouldn't do it. And that's part of what I'm getting out of that. I don't know what everybody else is getting out of it. Say something in the comments. Let me know. And like I said, like, comment, share, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. And let's get this number popping here. At least, I mean, I'm going to do the show regardless. I'm going to, like I always say, every time I do it for 5 people, I do it for 500. I don't care. The show is still the same. You can see my hand moving around and everything there on the other camera. The show is still the same regardless whether I do it for 6 or 600. I'm happy to have 6 with me, and you know what? It really does make my day. But you know what? The 6 of you that are here, thank you for being here. As far as what they did right, the venue was perfect. And I think going forward as well, reasonable podcasters that look at things with an open mind, we all agree with this stuff here. I mean, we all agree. The venue was perfect. They had almost 3,000 people there. Did not have over 3,000 people. As far as we know, paid attendance, they were short on their ticket allocation by about 600. So they had 2,900 and some change. They didn't have exactly 3,000 there, but I'm not going to nitpick over numbers. Everybody's nitpicking numbers. I don't care about the numbers. The venue was exactly what they need for this time. And shout out to Tony Khan for picking one hellaciously good-looking venue for that thing. The energy was good. The crowd understood the assignment. your crowds for a television show. It's one of those things, and I was a little bit nervous with being where it was because, you're up in that territory, you're up in WWE territory. I'm like, what are we going to get out of this crowd? And, you say DC, that's not WWE. Yeah, it is. It is. Pretty much everything once you get that close to Maryland, you're in WWE territory. Give me just 1 second here. Was about to sneeze, and I didn't want to sneeze on the at least loud enough. I apologize. Anyway, yeah, you're in foreign territory, and I always question about when the crowds are going to be there because we had the ones in Connecticut, and they were horrible. I mean, the venue was fine, the energy was okay, but the crowds were horrible. And this one last night, the energy was fine, the crowd was fine, everything laid out to be a good show right out of the gate. You could feel the energy as soon as they popped in there. You could feel the crowd energy. You could feel all of it through the show. Excellent presentation for that part of it. Excellent way to get your show over early in the stages. And of course, a lot of y'all were here for the watch along last night. We had a blast, by the way. We had almost 50 people there for that. Um, Aside from a couple of hiccups, the crowd was perfect, and they understood the assignment. They knew what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And that always makes for an even better show because one of the things wrestlers do is they do feed off crowd energy. And I talked to a lot of them at WrestleCade, and when I ask them off camera, of course, because I wasn't doing live interviews, when I ask them off camera, I'm like, "What is your biggest driving force the minute you hit the ring?" And they say crowd noise. Because if you make absolutely no sound whatsoever, they don't have anything to feed off of. They don't have anything to work off of. And here we are, and it winds up looking goofy, and the presentation winds up looking goofy. We've seen more than a couple of shows where that happens. The Bakersfield, California one. Yeah, the crowd. That was actually a good crowd for the right reasons, and that was a crowd that Tony needed to hear. Yeah. So, but I'm saying the crowd sets the pace for the wrestlers. So, obviously, out of the gate, we've got good energy. We've got a good crowd. The way it was laid out, the structure of the show was a little bit of that chaos he showed us about, what was it, like a month ago, where it was like you couldn't catch a break in between matches or promos. As soon as something was done, it was like they had absolutely no time in between anything. And then they've had shows that were promo heavy, and then they had shows that are wrestling heavy. Last night's show was a blend of all three of that. You had just enough chaos to keep it interesting. You had a perfect amount of wrestling. I think it was like, when it was all said and done, it was a little over an hour's worth of wrestling last night. So we had just the right amount of wrestling, just the right amount of talking, and just the right amount of everything. We had just the right amount of chaos. So that's what they got right. And we'll discuss as we go some of the things they got wrong. I thought the MJF segment was horrible. I thought the Adam Cole save of the MJF segment was about as good as it was going to get for that one. Um, Orange Cassidy, which we'll discuss that in a little bit more detail as we get to it. But Orange Cassidy, I hate to say this, and with all due respect, because I know there's a lot of Orange Cassidy fans out there. I hope this is his last sniff at a world title picture for at least a year because there's so much going on. There's so much to develop. And I really felt like Orange Cassidy's presence, it didn't hurt the energy, but it didn't help it. It didn't help it. Everybody else contributed. There was no Acclaimed on there tonight, which I was perfectly happy with. Um, Haters coming into her own with promos. we'll get into the Ricochet thing just a little bit later on. I like what Ricochet did. I wish the presentation had been just a little bit different because I don't think it was fully explained in the ring or backstage. We'll get to that as well. That would be one of those that, and it's one of those scenarios where you have to be careful with it because Ricochet is fresh out of WWE into AEW. I know he's been here for a few months now, but it's still fresh. Still very fresh, and he still has the same detractors that he had from day one. And I think we need to get into that part of it there, but I think it probably could have been explained or delivered just a little bit better. But I mean, as far as that, had news, but I decided just to leave that alone because I'm about 100% sure we're all aware that WWE has hired somebody who is a little bit seedy, and that happens. Now I just need to get rid of him, but we'll deal with that probably another day, another time, another place. I'm gonna leave that alone because everybody else has already talked about it like crazy, and I just don't think it has a place right now in this particular conversation. Maybe another conversation down the road, maybe by the weekend when I do another live review or something to that effect right there. I'm figuring out that if I do these at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday, probably not going to draw like it would on a weekend. So what we'll probably do is save the weekends for our live reviews going forward, and we'll just do one big blanket live review of the week. And I think that would be cool. I don't think the show would go too long either because I can speed it up or slow it down. It doesn't matter. So I'm thinking going forward, maybe either that or like I would have done the live review tonight. And that might be the other option as well. So don't get crazy about this afternoon during workday stuff here because I know people have jobs and I'm blessed to have the job that I have, and I'm blessed to be able to do this at any given time when I want to. Given if I give enough people enough notice, I can do anything I want anytime. That's one of the beautiful things about being an independent contractor. When I say that, people think I'm just saying it to have an argument point. No, I really am an independent contractor. I really do enjoy doing this stuff. I just really need to time it a little bit better so I'm not getting people out of their comfort zone as far as, well, I'm at work, I can't watch it. That's that's perfectly fine. I'll catch the replay if I think about it. And I do that myself. There are days like yesterday I was on the road all day. So I wound up watching a lot of stuff when I got home. Then I did my live watch along. This weather needs to make up its mind. Then I did my live watch along. Then I did a show with Covalent TV. And then when that was all said and done, then I actually got around to watching some of the shorts and stuff that I would normally watch during the day. So I totally understand. I don't want to put people out, and I don't want people having to, and I appreciate the fans that I've got. So when I appreciate them, I respect them. And I respect your time. Your time's important. My time's important. So we may very well get into that. Probably going forward, if I do another review like this for a Dynamite, it's probably going to be at night, but then that's going to interrupt some people watching. But I'll make it like at 6 o'clock. That way I don't kill your TNA, and nobody's watching the news, so that's that. But so that's probably what we're going to do going forward. We will have a live review on Sunday and Saturday possibly. We may do one. We may do a live review on Saturday. I may do a live review on Sunday. I got to look at everything, but I may wind up doing the live review at 2 o'clock on Sunday for Final Battle because we're going to be doing the watch along for that on Friday as opposed to SmackDown. I'm not going to be doing SmackDown on Friday. Not because I don't like the product, it's because Tony Khan's got a whole weekend there at the Hammerstein Ballroom in that area, and I'm going to highlight that. And plus, he's actually theming it accordingly. So, yeah, we're definitely going to give him the same credit back that he gives to us. You give the same energy to a promoter, they'll keep giving you good energy. So, anyway, all that was to get ready for this and just to see where we were going to be at on everything else. Well, let's get into this thing here. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite, and let's talk about exactly what happened on the show and what the good parts were and the bad parts are. So, opening up the show here, most everybody's favorite, AEW World Champion Jon Moxley and the Death Riders are shown arriving backstage as the broadcast team runs through the card. Backstage, Renee Paquette is interviewing Orange Cassidy and Jay White, who discuss their differences in the match and so on and so forth. And Jay White makes a comment about Hangman Adam Page, who busts through the door, and everybody's all of a sudden nice to Hangman Adam Page the whole 9 yards. After that, we got a backstage promo from Darby Allin, who reminded us that it is showtime. And then we got one from Will Ospreay to remind everybody that it's time for warfare and he is on another level. Now, I want to talk about this part here. I want to talk about this part in particular because this is one of the specific things that we need more of in AEW. More of this, Tony Khan, please and thank you. Absolutely more of this, please and thank you. Back in the days, a lot of people don't know this, but wrestlers didn't get a lot of promo time. So when they did get promo time, it was usually a minute, minute and a half, and they had a whole bunch of junk they had to squeeze into a minute, minute and a half. So the promos felt a little bit rushed. They felt a little bit deer in the headlights. All of that simply because the talent did not have enough time. They were given a couple of bullet points that they needed to bring home. They were only given a minute, minute and a half to get all that out. Tony Khan turns around and pays homage to that particular moment from back in the old NWA territory days, and that really hit good for me. That really did, and it probably, if he does this a little bit more often, that might take the place of the vignettes and so on and so forth that your casual fan is used to seeing when they're watching the product on another channel. That might just get them to that. So that was one of the things that they did outstandingly well, and I would like to see more of this. I would like to see more of this on a regular basis. I would absolutely kill to have this kind of action because it definitely set the match up for later on in the evening. Plus, it got both of them FaceTime on television, and they talked about where the money was. The money is in the long-term part of the program and not the short-term. Same thing that Ricochet did in his promo, but it was just a little bit further off. But we'll get to that part a little bit later on. And right out the gate, we start off with Mercedes Moné and Anna Jay in a cheat code of a match. Mercedes Moné continues. Day in, day out, night in, night out. Mercedes Moné continues to put her doubters and haters in the mud. Literally on Sunday night, she wrestled what I consider, I don't care what Meltzer gave it, I consider that to be at least a 6-7 star match. And there were actual times in there where I was legit convinced she was going to lose the gold. Same thing again that happened last night. There was a couple of moments in time there where I was legit convinced that she was going to lose the gold, only to retain. So the hate for all of that just needs to go away. The hate for all of that really seriously needs to go away. The ridiculous amount of comments that we get on her abilities and her performance and oh, she can't cut a promo, oh, she's in the mud, this, that, and that. All that shit needs to stop. Mercedes Moné got in there and her